Howdy, I'm Philip Likens, and I think the key to being a lumberjack, modern lumberjack man, is being able to make wonderful pancakes. And so I'm going to show you how to make pancakes like my grandfather taught me. So the first thing I'll do is I'll show you the utensils that we're going to use, and then I'll show you in the ingredients, and then I'll show you kind of how to mix the pancake batter, and then I'll show you actually how to cook them, and then how to assemble the pancake at the end. So those are kind of the steps that we'll go through. So here we go. All right. So if you want to make the perfect pancake, you've got to start with the perfect utensils and the perfect ingredients. So I'll go through each one. Um, these pancakes are made with using Hungry Jack Complete buttermilk. Just add water. And you could try a different mix. This is the easiest and the best mix for making these kind of pancakes that I've found. So I would recommend that, and that's what my grandfather used to use as well. You just need some butter. It doesn't matter what kind. And then what kind of sets this apart is we actually use sharp cheddar cheese. So you could use off the block. This is my grandfather used to cut his cheese off of a block, or you can use the pre-sliced version, and that's what I usually use because I don't want to mess with trimming it off the block. But to be cool for this video, I figured I'd show you that. Now, you need a non-stick skillet, and pretty much any size will do, medium to large. I've used larger size skillets than this. This is probably about as small as you want to go. You need a quality turner or pancake flipper. And by quality, it just needs to be thin enough that you can get under the pancake, but sturdy enough that it doesn't bend too much whenever you pick the pancake up. You need a whisk, or if you want to be it more advanced, you can use a fork to mix the batter with, but it's easier to kind of dip out the pancakes with if you have the whisk. You'll need a knife to spread your butter, and you'll need a sharp knife if you want to trim your cheese. And then you need a mixing bowl with a spout and a handle or some sort of grip to mix your pancakes in. So that's what you need to start making wonderful pancakes. All right, so the next step to making wonderful pancakes is to mix some pancake batter. So I poured some of the pancake mix into the bowl. It's kind of hard to see how much this is. It's maybe about the same size as my fist. It doesn't really matter. Once you've made these pancakes a bunch of times, you kind of get the hang of how much you need. And really, you don't want to measure anything out. The measurements on the back of the package don't actually help you, so ignore those. Just kind of pour some in. And what we're going to do is we're going to add some water to this. And you just kind of add some. And then you've got to mix it around. So if you want to use the whisk, mix it around and see what happens. See what kind of consistency you end up with. And what you're looking for is something a little bit looser than this. See, this is maybe the consistency of peanut butter or something a little less runny than that. That is too thick for our pancakes. What you want is you want to be able to pour it in the pan and it spread out naturally by itself. You don't want to have to do too much work. So we're going to add a little bit more water. And we'll mix it around. Sorry, I have to do this with one hand because I'm recording it with my phone. Okay, so this probably seems pretty runny if you've ever made pancakes before. But here's the thing to remember. Once the pancake batter sits for a little bit, it will actually thicken up on its own. So after you've made kind of the first pancake or so, this will naturally thicken and it'll be kind of the right consistency. And so whenever you pour your first pancake into the pan's going to be a little less hot than it will be at the end of your pancake making event, and so it'll be kind of perfect. It'll work itself out. So this is about the consistency you want. It's fairly runny, but that'll be good. That'll be good for us. So hopefully you kind of get a sense of what that's like. So it's kind of like a little more runny than honey or something like that. All right. So now's the fun part. We get to actually cook the pancakes. So the easiest way to tell if your pan is hot and you want it around like a medium heat, probably a little less than half heat. But an easy way to tell if your pan is hot enough is just drop a couple drops of water on it. And if it sizzles like that, then you know it's ready, okay? And because I only have one hand, I would normally kind of tip it over and spoon it out with the whisk, but since I only have one hand, I'll just pour it. So what you're going to do is you're going to pour it just in the middle like that, and don't be afraid to make it fairly large. And what you're wanting is about 3 cheeses long, or 3 cheeses in diameter. That's about how big you want your pancake. So here's our pancake. It's spread out, and you can see the bubbles are coming through. And what we're going to wait for is we're going to wait for the bubbles to kind of pop, and for this side to be fairly cooked, especially on the first pancake. As you go through more pancakes and more time on the stove, your pan will get hotter, and the bottom side will cook faster. And so you don't necessarily want to wait as long on the third or fourth pancake as you do on the first. But we're going to wait until most all the bubbles pop and it kind of dries out on the top a little bit. So you can see it's pretty wet still, but like even on the sides over here, it's starting to dry out a little bit. So it's just a waiting game. You don't want to get too hasty and check the pancake too much, because you'll mess up the edges of your pancake. As you can see, it's fairly close to the sides. So we're going to keep waiting. After the majority of these bubbles pop here, we should be pretty good. If you're wondering what are the other traits of a modern day lumberjack, I would say the ability to be funny, so comedy, and you can work on comedy. I think John Cleese the other day said something about he didn't have the comedic timing when he came into Monty Python, but he kind of learned that over time. Okay, so the edges are pretty dry, so we can check the bottom. And you're looking for kind of a golden brown color. That looks pretty good. So we can flip it. And then what you're going to want to do is you're just going to want to press down over the whole pancake. And if you can get it back in the center, that's better, but this will be okay too. And I think my heat is a little high, so I'm going to turn it back down. I was trying to get it hot for this demonstration, but so I turned it down to kind of a medium, but on the lower side. And now, because the edges were already somewhat cooked before we flipped it, it's not so bad to check it. You're not going to mess anything up. So you can kind of check the bottom. And that's pretty good. Okay. And I'm going to move it just to the middle because this edge wasn't centered. And then once it's done, looks good. Here, I'll flip it over so you can see it. Yep. Looks good. Okay. I'm going to put it on the plate. And I'm just going to get a little bit of butter. And I'm going to pull it down across the middle of the pancake. And then I'm going to put my cheese down. And if your cheese overhangs a little bit, that's okay. But then you're going to fold it over and then fold it again. And if it doesn't want to stay like that, you can always put the spatula on there and kind of weigh it down for a second. Let it sit for a minute, and then you'll be good to eat it. And that's how you make the perfect pancake, especially as a modern day lumberjack. Thanks.